Breaking news, there is no news this week, but there is still a Slice of Gaming podcast. I'm your host, Moonlight150, for the week of July 7th, 2023. So it's a bit of a light news week, but we're still going to make the best of it as much as we can. But joining me, as always, it's the super fighting robot, the Uncharted Wolf.
Hey, what's up?
He's finished the fight and now back for more. It's Fusion.
Happy Friday.
Lost in Tartarus, it's Dark.
Hey, how's it going?
And sharing a cell with Yuji Naka, it's Bench.
Wow. Excited to be
God
here,
is
I
us.
guess.
Where he belongs.
Don't let him out.
So
I don't know.
I will be going over the couple small topics that did come out this week. I think we're just on the down end of all the E3 news and Summer Game Fest and all that, so not a whole lot going on. But Wolf does have a plethora of small topics we can discuss, so let's hand it over to the Uncharted Wolf for the news.
Where can they find us, Moon?
Why do I always forget that? We're now on the new rebranded YouTube channel for A Slice of Gaming. We are also on Spotify. Hold on, let me pull up the list here. We have a nice fancy list now. Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, and Audible. And now we also have a Twitter. I was just getting to that, Bench. We're now on Twitter. The whatever last leg that website is on is now A Slice of Gaming. You can follow on Twitter. We got real lucky from a friend of the podcast to get a Blue Sky invite. So if you're on there, you can follow us on there. And as soon as Threads gets its act together, we'll probably have a Thread account as well. But until then, just follow us on Twitter and Blue Sky if you have that. Now on to the news.
Like the podcast.
I swear, always forget something. Like Moon was alluding to, we are working with a very, very slow news week. Obviously, a lot of that post E3 favor is probably the thing to blame. Like, obviously, with all the big presentations, I think most companies, they blew their load, and they're just like, you know what, we're just going to take a break for the summer. As per every summer, this is usually
And
the
a holiday.
case. Yeah, true.
It's holiday.
But yeah, now, as I said, it's a slow news week, so our big topics would usually just be our small topics, but hey, you know what? We're working with scraps here, boys. The first big topic, we got a brand new Persona 3 Reload trailer. This is our first reveal of like the dub cast, everything in that regard, as well as like a bunch of new things. I want to just immediately throw it over to my Persona 3 expert, Dark. What did you think of this trailer?
I mean, if you were familiar with Persona 3 at all, you knew that this was coming. It's just revealing like the next batch of characters that's coming. They go in like in order of like when you unlock these characters in the story, and thare the next 3 characters that they showed. Besides that, there's not really much to say. Yeah, that's about it. They're gonna be showing news every full moon. And, yeah.
Bencho, see what you got your hand raised. You got any things to add?
Yeah, I think I didn't notice this in the first trailer, but this trailer, I can see how much of a graphical upgrade it is from Persona 5 Royal already. It looks a lot better. At least I think.
Well, I would
And
hope
Persona
so.
5 already mastered the art style pretty well.
I would hope so, because considering Persona 5 is now like almost 10 years old now. Is 10 years? Because it was originally a PlayStation. It was a PlayStation 3 game initially.
2016, it came out in Japan. I remember that.
Okay, so not exactly 10 yet.
Yeah, it came out on the PS3 in 2016. That is weird to think about.
Yeah, jumping on that point, one thing that is incredibly improved is the in-game models. Like you mentioned, Persona 5. Yeah, Persona 5 looks nice, but if you look at the character models and they look horrendous. They fixed that in P3.
Don't
They're
look
like
too
zombies
closely at the
aesthetic.
models.
Yeah, exactly. They fixed that. They really made them like eye candy this time around, for obvious reasons. So yeah.
Of course. Yeah, no, I pretty much share a lot of y'all's sentiments. I think this game looks great. This is going to be my first time jumping into Persona 3. Obviously, big Persona 5, big Persona 4 fan. I'm ready to see what Persona 3 is all about. I will say, they revealed Mitsuru and how she looks in this game. I already know who I'm going with. I'm just going to say that right now.
No, leave my woman alone. Leave my woman alone. She's mine.
Look,
Yours?
Ours?
What?
Ours?
Comrade?
I hate to burst your bubbles, but like the way that romance works with Mitsuru, you're not gonna see it to the very end of the game. You have to have max knowledge to go for it.
I'll do everything I need to.
Real partners can wait. They're patient.
True.
I mean, look at Kasumi. She's right there.
That's true, though. Yeah, Kasumi's not that bad, but that's a different thing. It's a story for a different time.
I guess. Any last thoughts on it? Obviously, it was a pretty small trailer.
There was that, I don't know if it wasn't in the trailer, but it was mentioned somewhere else. I can't remember, but they said that breaking S links are now no longer a thing. You can still move. You can still go back in S links. Like you can make terrible decisions with these people, and they'll like you less. But that you can't break them, which I guess was a thing in the original Persona 3. So I guess that is some soft confirmation they are reworking the links a little bit. So who knows? Maybe we can actually meet her and start her a little sooner.
Yeah,
I feel like that's going to be the case. What, Dark? Have some faith, all right?
Alright, so there's a reason why I say so. I'm not just talking to my ass. A lot of the S links for the main party are tied to things that happen in the story,
Yeah, which
like
is
something like an
fine.
event. Meaning that if they don't change the entire story around, there's no way you'd be able to do them earlier.
Maybe they do. I mean, they're
Given
most
the
likely,
events of the story that happens for these things to start, I don't think they're changing anything
they're
when it
removing
comes to that regard.
the answer that was in FES. Maybe they reworked that into the story, and
The thing with the
changed
answer
it
is that
around.
it can be explained in like 2 sentences. It really
but
isn't that complicated.
This is Atlas, though. They're gonna take those 2 sentences and stretch it out to 15 cutscenes. All right.
Yes,
Maybe.
maybe
Bro, he's like, you know what? Actually, you may
it's
have a
not.
point
It's
there.
not out of the realm of possibility.
One thing I did want to mention: the new English voices. We vibe with them yet?
Yeah.
It feels
mean-
weird because it feels like if you know the original voice cast and like the work that they did, Mitsuru especially, it feels like she's just copying the old Mitsuru, like doing an impersonation, which is really weird. When you could just cast.
She pronounced Trey Bin a lot better in the new one. I'll say that.
Oh yeah, that's in like a fucking joke in the community, but I don't know. It feels kind of weird. I figured that she would do like her own take on it. It feels more like an impersonation. Besides that, everybody else seemed fine.
Yeah, it's hard to really judge it because like they all had like 2 lines in the trailer, so it's
There
we
was
won't really fully know.
on Twitter they all had like a little voice reel where they had like saying random ass shit. So it was a lot more than 2 lines where you got the good gauge of how they.
Yeah, the voice actors did a panel at Anime Expo, and they kind of had the voice actors do like a bunch of the famous quotes, I guess, from the characters. So we got a couple more lines from each character. Yeah, they all sound fine.
That's good too. Okay. Well, moving on to our next big topic. Speaking of Sega, we got Sega's dark horse, our good friend Yuji Naka, developer of
podcast.
Balan One, friend of the podcast,
The legend himself.
We got the official prison sentencing. This comes from Nintendo Everything. Brian over there wrote the story. Yuji Naka officially sentenced to prison with 4-year suspension. A verdict has been reached in Yuji Naka's insider trading case, and the game developer, known for his previous work on Sonic the Hedgehog and more recently Balan Wonderworld, has been sentenced to prison, but he is unlikely to serve time. However, the courts made a final judgment today. The big part of the story is that Naka has been given a prison sentence of 2 years and 6 months. However, since he'll be seeing a 4-year suspension, that should allow him to avoid jail time. He has also been given a couple of fines of 2 million and 170 million yen. I guess just right off the bat, anyone got any thoughts on our good friend Yuji Naka?
Yo, free my
We
boy.
will
He
be
did nothing
waiting.
wrong.
We will be waiting for his next game when he comes out with his enlightened mindset. It
Yeah,
will
he's got
be amazing.
He's going to come out of prison and make Shadow the Hedgehog too. I'm telling you, this is what's gonna
Dude,
happen.
That's what I
feel
want.
like I'm starting to think he's like up there for the biggest fraud in the industry, like right up there with like Peter Molyneux. I just don't understand how Balan became the thing it was, and just how much of a fall from grace that one person could have, where you went from creating Sonic the Hedgehog, which obviously I know the jokes are coming. Oh, Sonic, that's why he's a bad person because he created Sonic. No, but like Sonic games were good, guys. I promise. But like you go from creating that character, one of the most legendary IPs of all time, and now you're going to prison. And obviously in the article they say that like he can probably avoid jail time, but still, like in general, that is not a good look.
It's on your permanent record, pretty much.
Exactly.
He's gonna go down as a legend.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
not gonna be infamy. It's gonna be a good thing. I'm telling you.
I say this is a bigger accomplishment than creating Sonic, honestly. So
Okay.
I mean,
Getting
He's
getting
doing
arrested
something good for the
ins-
world. Yeah.
Getting arrested
Okay,
for
guys.
insider trading.
Being a
He's taking
setting
the
an
fall.
setting an example for all the kids out there, unlike Sonic, which is terrible.
What the fuck are you on
Why?
about?
What did Sonic do? That's what
Let's
I
just
want to
rate
This is
know.
Sonic in
bench
the next
talking
30
shit,
minutes.
bro.
Make a
He's just
couple
upset.
of bad
He's upset that
games.
Sonic Adventure 2 is better than FF16. This is how he acts.
Hang on, hang on.
Okay, hang on. Hey,
He's
let's.
actually kind of spitting. Hang on, I'm with him.
No.
Bro,
Sonic
he's
Adventure
talking about
2
peak.
doesn't,
He's talking
doesn't
about peak all
stop
the
me
time.
every 5 seconds.
Sonic
I'm just
Adventure
saying.
2 is peak gameplay, bro.
Okay, I
No,
won't go
no
that far.
Sonic game was even remotely good.
What
No,
Generations?
Actually wrong. The fuck?
Adventure
Yeah.
2
It's
is
actually
right
just a
there.
wrong statement. Generations is
Have you played
perfect,
Mania, bro?
phenomenal.
Mania, bro.
Mania
Mania's the
is
one.
literally perfect.
And
Bro, I
Superstars
swear
looks
to-
really good too.
Yeah, look at that.
Yuji Naka is going to jail for the sins of bench alone. Let that be known.
You know, it's a good thing I chose bench to go for that Yuji Naka line now.
At least Sonic sucks.
Okay,
You're gonna
we
be
don't
a
need to
Sonic
talk
hater,
more
bro.
about Sonic. Okay, here's something I was thinking. When he gets out of prison or gets out of this whole situation, does he make another game?
Of 100%.
Yes.
How
There
does
is
he
no
know
way
what
he's
game?
not.
It'll
He's
take away
not,
Game
no.
of the Year. It'll have an enlightened mindset on what he needs to accomplish with the rest of his life.
Yo, I'm telling you, Shadow the
the goal.
Hedgehog 2 is gonna be the
Why do
greatest
you
game of
keep?
all time.
It does not exist. Shadow the Hedgehog 2 is not a real game. Why
It's
do you
gonna
keep
happen
pushing
when he
it?
comes up, bro.
Did Yuji Naka actually make the first one?
He was involved in it, I believe.
He was involved in every Sonic game,
Yeah.
at least in some way.
And
What
Sonic
did
the
he
Hedgehog
actually
2.
do?
What do you mean?
What's up,
What he
Jason?
actually
What
fucking made Sonic?
Nah, I don't believe it. There's something that dude's like.
What do you mean you
would
don't
they
believe
beat a
it?
fraud?
Eugene-
Who's
okay,
a fraud?
No, he created the actual character and like other stuff.
Dude, the reason why
Other
Sonic
stuff.
can't he's the reason why Sonic can't swim. Because he didn't do his research. Hedgehogs can swim, by the way. He did not do his research and he thought the hedgehogs can't swim. That's why Sonic drowns in the water.
Dude,
Do
that's
you
a
guys
deep cut
actually
right there.
think, like, legitimately think he's gonna make another game?
Yeah, he is. That's
I mean,
it.
There's
he's-
no way.
How old is he?
I don't know.
I could check real quick.
If I had to guess, about 63.
Nah,
Imagine
I
he
think
actually
probably in his 57.
Okay,
Close.
yeah. I guess it depends on
So-
what his health is like once he's out. Because it's 2 years from now. He's out of like what's the suspension for? Does he like? Can he not make games for 4
insider
years?
Well, in general, I know Japan takes like prison sentencing a lot more seriously. I feel like he would get blacklisted almost. Like a lot of companies just wouldn't want to make a game.
Yeah,
with
that's
him.
true. That's probably he's gonna be like 60 something by the time he's actually able to do anything, and then he's probably gonna be like, "Oh, so who wants to work with me?" And everyone's gonna go, "No."
Yeah,
I don't know. So
exactly.
under most normal circumstances, I feel like that'd be the case. But then when like he's such a high-ranking person, like when you look
I
at
mean,
his like
is he
pedigree,
really
Ranking
a
for
high-ranking
When you-
person anymore?
when you look at his pedigree,
Yes, he
what
made
he's
like
done-
Sonic games in the past, but like a lot of people don't care.
he still
about
worked with
Sonic.
modern ones. He's still
He-
that
he-
guy.
He worked with what?
He still worked with like modern games though. Like he's still like in the process and everything. Sure, maybe the next Sonic
Yeah.
game that they're working on right now probably won't have him for obvious reasons, but you know.
Hey, Dark, what was the last game Yuji Naka worked on?
What was the one Forces? Oh god.
no, no, Yuji Naka. What was the last game? Came out in 20 what was it,
Balan.
2021. Yeah. You really want to get the creator of Balan on your team?
Yo, the reason why Balan sucked is because it wasn't Sonic, bro. You took him out of his element.
I swear to God, bro.
Well, that's the thing is that because he also made Nights into Dreams too, and I know a lot of people like that.
Dreams is a good
The-
series.
Yeah, the one on like the original one is good. The one on Wii I heard wasn't the best though.
If you take
never
away his
played it.
hedgehog, he's nothing. That's all I'm saying. He needs the hedgehog.
We just
We
mentioned
just
how Dreams
talked
is good.
about another franchise that he did that was good.
Yeah.
But that was also like what? That was on the GameCube, so that was how many years ago
No, that
now?
wasn't GameCube. That
Your
was
Fusion is like if you
Saturn.
if Fusion
It
goes
just
to
seems
like
like
a bit
fucking-
older.
It seems like the
Fusion-
dude's holding on to his 30-year-old legacy and hasn't made something good in 20 years.
He's
This
that.
is-
He's like the
That's
high school
not true.
captain. High school
Yo,
football
imagine
captain.
if like Fusion just comes out of the woodworks. He's like, yo, if you take away Skyrim from Todd Howard, he ain't got nothing, bro. Like, what the fuck?
If he said that, I would ban him from the podcast. No joke. Okay, so
Move,
final
move,
years,
move.
real quick. Final years at Sega. He left Sega around 2006.
I wonder why.
So is he like independent now, or who's he with?
He's
in
a
2000
freelancer.
Yeah, he's freelance.
Yeah, he's very much.
Okay, so
freelance.
yeah, if he's not has no ties, and after all this, every company's gonna look at him funny now.
I
It's
think
like,
he'll be
well, why?
desirable after he gets out.
I feel like
who would
that'd be
want
great.
him?
You know, there's probably
don't
some
know.
like rogue company, like fucking EA is gonna be like, "Yo, Yuji Naka, fresh out of prison, let's do it."
An EA original.
EA original. EA
Original.
We ain't
original.
ready for this world, yo, bro. This time is gonna be crazy.
Oh
Bro,
man, what a
What
story!
if, what if Ubisoft gets something that makes the next Rayman?
No,
Think
stay
about it,
away
man.
from
Think about it.
ruin any other franchise. Don't ruin Rayman,
You
okay?
sure wants to watch the world burn.
For real.
I just learned about the guy 10 minutes ago. So
Any last thoughts on Yuji Naka?
Free my boy.
I told y'all we'd spend a lot of time on this. Y'all underestimated it.
Yeah, true. Yeah, Bench did say that very much as a joke, but I guess he was right.
It wasn't a joke. I knew.
Oh, you knew? Now you know.
he knew
We
I was
heard it in the fucking grapevine, bro.
BSing.
Last of the big topics. Capcom did a big Q&A. Good friend of the show, Noble. Follow him on Twitter. He's the GOAT. Did a little like snippet of everything that like kind of the big headlines from the whole Q&A. AR/VR has potential, considering how Monster Hunter, Totowari no Paramu, Sengoku, Basara, and Onimusha could reach a bigger audience. Pragmata delays to reach quality standard, and this is kind of the big headline that a lot of people are running with. New Mega Man game when they have a solid concept, considering more ports. So I'm the big Mega Man guy, so obviously when I hear that story, I get a little excited, and then I remember that it's probably never going to happen. I just have to accept that Mega Man's been in the gutter for the last few years. Very much
Nah, I
just
think
like
it'll come back.
I think it will come back, but like man, I feel like I've waited for so long. I'm
Mega
ready for a
Man-
new Mega Man game.
It'll get a new game in the next 5 years. Triple
5
A,
years?
big budget. I'm just giving
Well, I mean,
them space, but I think in the
which
next
triple
5 years,
It's
Which-
not going to be AAA. They're not going to go full AAA budget.
Well,
it's
Mega
gonna
well, I
Man.
get
mean-
like the RE treatment. It'll
okay,
get.
okay, I'll ask you this.
What?
Bullet.
What?
Wait, okay. Wait, hang on.
But you gotta run
Bitch,
something.
He's not gonna elaborate. He just said
hang on.
something.
What?
I think it's gonna get a lot of money behind it.
RE treatment?
As in, like Resident Evil, like Monster. Well, like, and then a different example, like Monster, and it'll be of that caliber of game.
Oh, you think it's just going to be... Well, okay, let me ask you this. Does AAA mean like it's a 3D game, or can it be a AAA game while being 2D?
Either or, but I guess what I was trying to say is it'll have tons of quality, and you can tell it has a big budget behind it. It's not going to be a small side project for them. They're going to go all in or not go at all.
So bigger than Mega Man 11 size?
I've never played Mega Man, but knowing Capcom now,
You never played
I
Mega?
think,
Damn,
I have
that's a big
not.
L.
But knowing Capcom and the new collection sold well, they'll go back and they'll do it right.
Man, I want
Capcom's
you
in a
all to...
different state they were back then as well.
One thing
They
that hit me
can
hard...
afford the
My bad.
loss. They can just make something for the fans. Something like, for an example, Nintendo does sometimes that they've talked about. Now they're in a position where they can do that.
That really hit me when you said that the new collection was selling well, because I remember saying like it is a possibility that Battle Network collection we could become the best-selling Mega Man game, and that really hit me. It's like, damn, the best-selling Mega Man game has sold 1.6 million copies. It's like it is not as big of a franchise as I thought it was.
I'll play Battle Network whenever it goes on sale.
Imagine
Yeah.
if they wanted to do good like the Resident Evil treatment, but they have to make it more serious. So they're gonna reboot that first-person shooter Mega Man that they did a long time ago. Make
Imagine
that
like
the
a Returnal like
Maverick
Mega
Hunter?
Man game.
Maverick Hunter. There it is.
Returnal like Mega Man game. I don't know. That'd just be a roguelike. I don't know.
Not
I don't
like
They
hate
can make a
roguelike,
Mega
but
Man
like
game? Does that be like Metroid
the
Prime?
combat, like the combat kind of
combat?
thing, like the top,
No.
like bullet hell
What the
kind
fuck?
of thing.
My
Make it-
viewpoint. Okay, here's how you bring Mega Man back. Mega Man X9. There, that's it.
Just
Why don't you just
X9.
reboot Mega Man X?
Yeah, no, either or. I hate reboots, but I would rather it just be called X9. But yeah,
I mean, if
just
you
call it
want
Mega Man
to
X.
get a brand new audience into it, you gotta.
I know why reboot. I hate reboot titles, I guess, because it makes searching up like the original game annoying. As
Mega
simple
Man
as that, but-
rejecting.
Rejecting. All right, Moon. That's enough out of you. I don't know. Mega Man X9 is like a possibility. I feel. I don't know how they would bring back. I do just think bring back Mega Man with X9 or just a reboot of X. But I don't know what Capcom's thinking. Like they're just very quiet about this series that I feel like isn't getting anything
Falling
like,
into
news-wise.
obscurity.
Yeah, that's the big fear. Like it could fall into obscurity, and
So
it
here's
just
what you
feels
do.
weird. That was their mascot.
Here's what you do. Since Battle Network is the best-selling one so far, you go full anime, and so you make a new NT Warrior anime and have a companion game with it. There you go. Mega Man
Awesome.
just has to go anime.
I hate it. That's a great idea. Yeah, no, but as a big Mega Man fan, like I guess like these type of things are like the type of hope I want. It's interesting they say when they have a solid concept. I feel like the most solid concept you have is just make X9, but
I mean,
I get it.
going back, they can make Mega Man like like very similar to like a Metroid Prime, and it'll work
Yeah,
That's
that
what
if
could
they
work.
do it properly.
That was the
If they do
Maverick
it properly.
Hunter, yeah.
Maverick Hunter was a weird one because I feel like everyone was like sad about it getting canceled, but I was always of the opinion that I think that game was going to be bad.
Most likely. Yeah,
Eh,
I don't know.
imagine.
New Capcom is like they don't lose, bro.
no, but this was back when Capcom was bad, though.
I know,
Like,
but I'm saying like, this is current Capcom.
Oh yeah,
so-
current Capcom, they would make it work. I will say though, they said more ports and collections. At this point, all that's left is Star Force and Legends, and I guess like some of the spin-offs like Mega Man Soccer, if you want to bring that one back.
Does that
Mega
actually
Man
exist, or
Soccer,
did
that
you
was
make
a
that
thing,
up?
bro.
Yeah, on the SNES. It is.
Jeez.
It's fine. It's not the worst game in the world, but yeah, no, I think we're probably gonna get a Legends collection very soon, like maybe in the next year or so, considering how well Battle Network did. But yeah, any last thoughts on the story? I guess we should probably go over the other headlines.
Because
I
all
don't
I
know,
wanted,
there's
all I
not
wanted to
much.
say was, I'll imagine Maverick Hunter remake, reboot, whatever comes out before Metroid Prime 4.
I see that coming. I could see that. And one, I guess like the other headlines, there's not much else to really talk about there. Like the idea of Onimusha maybe coming back would be cool, but I don't know. Everything else very much
You got to
seems
find the
like
right
standard.
concept. That's all it is with all these old franchises. Like, you have to find the right concept to bring it back. That's why
Exactly.
they haven't. That's exactly the same thing Nintendo said about F-Zero. It's like, we haven't found, how do we make this stand out from like Mario Kart.
Just make a new F-Zero. I just don't get it. It's so simple. Whatever. But that's everything for our actual quote unquote big topics. We needed big topics, but like
Dude,
we're
what a
gonna
big
run.
news week.
Yeah, like I said, very slow news week. So, moving into our small topics, so these are just as big as our big topics, if anything else. Crash Team Rumble sales are astronomically low. I wrote that because Liam Robinson over at Twitter kind of specified exactly what we're looking at here. A clearer picture of Crash Team Rumble's sales performance is emerging now. Here's a telling stat. In the UK, Crash and Sane Trilogy, a 6-year-old game, actually outsold it even though it just released 2 weeks ago. God damn.
Bad games sell bad.
That's insane, actually.
Crash Team Rumble, from the moment it was revealed, my viewpoint was always, who is this for?
Is
And
it
what
bad
was
though?
crazy is that they kind of hyped it up for 2 years before its
Exactly.
official announcement.
Well,
That's nuts.
no, they didn't hype it up. It was that it was leaked like 2 years ago.
No, because they would send the pizza boxes before every big
Yeah, that's
Jeff
true.
Award show, and like for of years of the
I don't think it
shows.
was 2 years. Maybe like around
I
a
think
year.
like rumors and word of it was going around for 2 years, and then we got closer and closer, and then we started getting that like promotional stuff.
It's
It's
just like,
just
why?
I don't get it.
Microtransactions. It's the live service like thing that everyone's going after.
But why make a live service with Crash Bandicoot?
Any-
You know
like,
it's not gonna work.
Anything you could slap an IP name on, a recognizable IP name.
Like, I haven't played Crash, but trust me if I'm wrong. Like, correct me if I'm wrong. None of the characters are like
Trust me if I'm wrong.
super worthy of like being their own in that game because they're Crash characters. Besides, like a couple, you're gonna have to pull a couple. There's not a lot.
Like in terms of being iconic,
Yeah,
I guess like yeah, I can kind of agree with you
I mean,
there.
after Crash 4, a lot more of the characters were a lot more recognizable after their redesigns.
Yeah. I'm a Crash Bandicoot fanboy. Love the games. One of my favorite platforming franchises. And I skipped this game completely because I'm like, this does not look interesting at all. And no one talked about it. It literally came out 2 weeks ago. Not even 2 weeks ago at this point. I think around 2 weeks.
There was like no hype cycle for it, like once it was actually revealed. Like it was just kind of,
Yeah.
hey guys, remember it's coming out, and like, well, but where's the trailers?
There was a beta, and I swear they never said there was a beta. It just came out. I was so confused when it came out. I was like, when did this happen? It's just a disappointing process. Do you guys think Crash comes back under Activision, or do we have to wait till this deal?
Yeah,
goes
because
through?
because like everything else, they want those IP. So if they can slap a Crash Bandicoot 5 on their Game Pass, then yeah, they're going to. Hell, even Crash's 4 design until Crash 5 comes out, they're
And
going
Crash
to.
4 did really well.
I think
Crash
Spyro
Crash
did it
was
first.
right.
So like,
Crash,
it's all about
dude,
those recognizable IPs.
I would cry if we got a new Spyro game. I need a new Spyro game so badly.
Speaking of Spyro games, this is a rumor that just appeared. Keep in mind, full emphasis. There's a rumor that
Okay.
there's a new Spyro in the works.
That's been a rumor for a long
Don't give me
time.
hope.
Given what happened with Crash, where he came out of literally nowhere, this would make sense. Especially given the sales of Crash. Why not try Spyro as well?
I wouldn't say he came out of nowhere.
I mean,
like we Crash Bandicoot and Sane Trilogy was very much the test bed. That did well, and they were like, okay, start development on Crash 4.
Well,
and I feel like
that
that's
came
kind
out
of
of,
what's
like,
happening
nowhere,
with
too.
Spyro.
Yeah, they did the same thing as Spyro, so it would make sense if they do it.
I actually, even Crash and Sane Trilogy didn't really come out of nowhere because they almost had like a contingency plan with that game in case it didn't do well, where they were like, oh, also Crash Bandicoot's in the new Skylanders. If you remember that. That was
I
wild.
played Skylanders
You
so
remember all the
much.
Skyrim
I bought them all.
rumors?
Say
What
again,
happened
Dirk?
to that? There was a bunch of Skylander rumors. I don't know if you guys remember, but it was like it was heavily implied that Skylanders was coming back, and
Yeah, no,
nothing
that
came
series
of
is
it.
dead. That series is dead. Like, straight up.
It outlived
Yeah,
its purpose.
Exactly. Toys to Life is not a thing anymore. Like,
But
it was
like,
a
apparently-
gimmick.
because gaming
According to
and
the
like,
rumor,
brick and mortar stores just aren't doing that anymore.
it was
Exactly.
just that they were gonna do Skylanders without the toys, and you would like unlock the characters end game and stuff.
What's the game then?
Live service, probably.
Yeah, I think it was rumored to be a live service.
Everything's a rumor to be a live service at this point. Yeah, that's everything for Crash. I hope Crash actually gets a new game. Oh, Moon, you said something?
Yeah, just kind of thing fun I wanted to point out is I just find it funny. Well, granted, these are just the UK sales alone, so that's a very small pool to pull information from. But also just the fact that I guess you can kind of almost see the silver lining on this, that Crash and its like most natural form, the Insane trilogy, is still relevant enough these days, 6 years after release, that it's still selling decently. So I mean, that's kind of like a silver lining.
Yeah, that's always exciting to see, just in general. Like, Crash Bandicoot clearly is well beloved. It's
Like,
just Activision seems to forget that.
Yeah, it's just there's always more kids growing up and discovering these games, so they're going out and buying them.
Yeah. But yeah, that's everything for that story. Next up, I have a bit of an Street Fighter 6 news roundup, I guess. First up, we got a brand new character revealed, Rashid. Rashid of the Turbulent Wind makes his Street Fighter 6 debut on July 24th. This comes from the official Street Fighter Twitter account. With a whirlwind of moves that will send him flying through each fight, Rashid leaves all opponents in the dust unless they decide to like and subscribe. Did they really add? Oh, because he's a streamer. Isn't his whole thing like he's a parkour streamer?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, Dark, go off.
I don't know. I mean, there's really not much to say about this. If you like
Character
Street
looks
Fighter,
good.
you got an extra character. I mean, there's not much to
Pretty
say
much.
about it, bro.
I'll say this: it's nice to get another Arab in the game, as an Arab myself. That's it. I'm really mad they made him a freaking streamer, though. I'm so sick of streamers in fighting games. Like, why is this an archetype? It's dumb. Nobody fucking likes it.
Just because that's the day and age that we live in, so they're just making archetypes of characters that we now have in our world.
I hate our world. I don't want
Clearly,
them.
nobody paid attention to Borderlands 3 and how the villains of that game totally failed the game.
Like,
You know?
nobody liked them. Why is this a thing? The other Street Fighter 6 story is Street Fighter 6 has hit 2 million copies sold. Yeah, I guess great to see.
Good game sells well. Like, what? I don't know what else you expect.
Pretty much. I did see some people say like, "Oh, these sales seem low," but it's like for a fighting game, this is really good.
Sure, it's a little lower than I was expecting, only a little, but it's still great for the franchise. It's not bad.
That's exactly what I expected, given that like a lot of legacy characters are missing. But keep in mind, they're gonna like release like 3 season passes and re-release this game like 6 different times.
Oh yeah.
That's
Yeah,
just how
it's
Capcom
gonna
does things. It's
it'll
gonna be fine. Like there's nothing to worry about with this.
Hey, maybe we'll get a good Marvel vs. Capcom game out of it, right, guys?
How do
Dude,
we tell them?
you got Infinite, okay? You go over there
I
and play
think it
Infinite in
comes
the
out.
corner.
Don't do that to me.
I think Marvel vs. Capcom comes back.
Nah, I think it's dead.
No,
I
think
feel like
Marvel vs.
Marvel
Capcom
was-
comes back after they reboot Devil May Cry.
Oh, okay, so never. Cool.
Actually, Devil May Cry 5 sold really well, so they're probably gonna do
Yeah,
it.
no, it's gonna come back. Games, they were gonna get a new Devil May Cry. Next news story. Sega is moving away from their blockchain plans. This comes from Takashi Mochizuki over at Bloomberg. Sega Corp, the gaming studio once regarded amongst the staunchest advocates of blockchain gaming, is pulling back from an arena devastated by the global crypto industry meltdown. The company behind Sonic the Hedgehog and Yakuza will withhold its biggest franchises from third-chain blockchain gaming projects to avoid devaluing its content, co-chief operating officer Shuji Utsumi told Bloomberg News. It's also shelving plans to develop its own games in that genre, at least for now, he added. I mean, this is just an automatic W, I'd say, right?
Yeah.
Yo, Square
I
Enix
think-
take notes.
No, I think
don't know
Square
what
leads it
else
as well in the next
I was
year.
gonna say Square's still like holding strong with being like
Yo, not only is
they're all
Square
about it,
holding
right?
strong about this, but they had a new president, and the first thing out of his mouth was, "Guys, I like NFTs." This is
It's
not a
crazy.
good.
No, I think
Is-
Square doesn't go through with their NFT plan.
I mean, have
I already
has
started it.
Square done
Already
anything?
did.
They already started. It's too late.
Well, I'm talking about like make games with that. I think their
Yo,
whole
you
NFT
did.
thing
You think
ends
they're
in the
gonna
next
miss
year.
that?
So
You think they're gonna miss the possibility to import NFTs into Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and whatever
But
the
yeah,
I
I
future
think
swear
they're
to
not
God,
gonna
don't
do
do
it.
that. Don't say that. They're not gonna
Phone
do that.
Star, baby.
I think they're gonna front at least. I just think they end the plans in the next year. I don't think they go through with the majority of things.
I mean,
The
Square's
new
like one of the.
president, the first thing he said was that
Yeah.
he likes NFTs, bro.
That's only going to happen if like the market just crashes even more than it already has.
And it will.
I mean, it will. The crypto market's a joke at the moment. I mean, I don't know. It's just a whole fucking situation in and of itself. Just what Square is there any other holdouts other than Square at this point?
I think
Ubisoft?
they're going Square.
Ubisoft, right?
Ubisoft has their weird thing where they
They
call it
quartz.
something else. Yeah,
Yeah,
quartz
quartz.
or whatever it is.
I just feel like it's crazy that like EA and Activision don't have NFT plans, but Ubisoft does. I feel like if I was Ubisoft, I'd be looking at that. It's like, oh damn, those guys aren't doing
No,
it.
I
huh?
don't know if anyone talks about it now, but I think EA is a good studio again. I think
Okay.
they've redeemed
Aren't they?
themselves.
Look at their sports games. Their sports
Well-
games are still terrible.
They're
but-
separating them now. They know it's a separate
Okay.
thing.
That's
What
still,
is that? That doesn't make a difference.
you know what, guys? It's a separate thing. They're fine.
They're bringing back the college football. They're doing some stuff, and then all their singles. They're
You know-
back on the single player train, and all those are pretty quality.
Look, they
I'm
make
just
the
asking
same
right
game
now, but
every year.
Do you know what bringing back the college football means, or are you just like, yeah, I saw that headline?
My brother's excited for it. So
I'm
Okay, there
very
we go. That's
excited
good.
for it. So
Yo, they make the same game every year and people eat it up. I'm not even joking. You can't cheat sports
Okay,
games
okay.
that much.
I'll say this. Their sports division isn't good, like still, but I will say EA single player wise has actually been doing good
Yeah, if
for
it
the
has
most part.
the name EA Original on it, it's bound to be at least mildly decent, if not good.
Yeah, and I mean, look at what Jedi Survivor. I had my issues with it, but like that game scored really well, even if it launched pretty badly. Dead Space remake was great. Like it's clear
that
they
space was amazing.
It Takes
they're
Two was awesome.
bringing exactly like they're starting to come back. I want them to do well.
they had that Wild Hearts game too.
Oh yeah, I forgot that was EA.
Is that thing
I
dead?
mean,
I
people
completely
liked
forgot about
it.
that.
People know it was decent for what it was. People liked it, and it differentiated itself from Monster Hunter enough to feel like its own thing.
Is it
I
still
think they
going?
also had performance issues. It seemed like that was one
On
of those games where
PC.
like it launched with some bad performance stuff, which probably turned a couple people away. But wasn't it on
Yeah.
Game Pass?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was.
But yeah, any more thoughts? We've been going on a lot of tangents. I've noticed in this
That's
episode.
what happens when
We don't have much
big
to talk
topics.
about.
Exactly. Yeah. I guess we're done with Sega. Let's move on to MK1. Smoke and Rain were revealed for MK1. Was Rain revealed?
Yeah.
Real quick. Okay. I just want to make sure.
It was like the second half of that trailer.
I'll be okay. I'll be completely honest. I was watching that trailer. I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. Like I was just kind of like winging it, like you know what? Yeah, I didn't know if the characters were revealed already, so I was just like, okay, cool. But I guess just thoughts on the trailer for
Well,
any MK fans here.
yeah, they completely redesigned. Smoke now has like a little dagger. Rain is now like a wizard with a staff instead of like a full blown ninja. So that's kind of interesting to see. But that trailer was part of the combat cast where they went in more depth on Scorpion and Johnny Cage. Johnny Cage's been like completely reworked as a character for the most part. So it was just interesting to see like how much they actually are changing these characters.
Yeah. Dirk, did you have any thoughts, or does the game still look goofy to you?
Bad game looks bad.
I swear to God, where does this come from? It looks good.
No, it doesn't. It looks fucking weird. Right?
How does
If
it look weird?
If you compare it to the other Mortal Kombat games, it's so fucking realistic
We're
and
the
goofy when it
only
comes to.
one with this opinion. I have not seen a single other person with this opinion.
And I stand firm with my opinions.
Man is fighting an army of positivity for this game.
Say that, Ed Boon. Right?
I love you, Dark, but sometimes you just make no sense to me.
It is also kind of cool. Well, along with the characters, we got a lot of confirmations of cameo characters. We got all the robots. We got Cyrax and Sector. They also showed off Frost, and I think there was one more cameo. I can't remember. But what's interesting is like Cyrax and Sector are their classic, like Mortal Kombat, like their earliest Mortal Kombat appearance. I can't remember if it was like 2 or 3 when they first showed up. But Frost is like her MKX design, which is kind of fascinating because all the other cameos so far are the like the MK1 designs. So they're making the cameos like these like other timeline versions of the character. That's how you're like supposed to differentiate them.
I mean,
It's just kind of
did you know when Frost was introduced?
Yeah, it was like much
Okay.
earlier, but
They
Yeah,
just
Frost-
going with like their first designs that they came out with.
yeah, but Frost was a character way before MKX though.
Was she? I thought she was MKX.
She came back in MKX. Well, I'm gonna look up when she came.
When...
I'm pretty sure it was X. I could be wrong though.
Frost. Yeah, it made her debut in Deadly Alliance.
Oh wow, I'm a fake fan. Actually, I'm not even a fake fan. I'm not a fan. I respect Mortal Kombat, but I obviously don't
I'm
know
like
much about it.
I'm a very very like mediocre beginner fan. Like I only know some basics. I just knew that Frost was like a character that went missing for a very long time and then came back in MKX. That's like as much as I knew about her. Like I knew she was an old character, and that was about it.
I like her design. That's something.
Yeah, Frost has a cool design. She really does. But yeah, so it's interesting to see all these characters. My only gripe is the I don't know. I just don't like the idea of like, yeah, you have this cool cameo system to like have other characters come in that aren't part of the main roster, but then you fill half this roster with characters that are part of the main roster. You got Scorpion, you got Sub-Zero, you got Kung Lao, so you can have like double of these characters. I'm just like, why? Like, fill this up with only non-playable characters. But well, that's just a minor gripe for me.
Moving on, we got the Wave 5 of the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass revealed. I got this from Mario 64. Launches July 12th. They're returning some characters: Birdo, PD Piranha, Wiggler, Kamek, and they showed off a bunch of new tracks. Bench, you had some thoughts on this, I think?
There was a couple standout tracks in there that I really like. The Koopa one and then Daisy Cruise. So just another good addition.
Yeah,
It's Mario
Daisy
Kart 8
Cruise.
Deluxe.
Daisy Cruiser was one of the ones I was waiting for. That's a personal.
Cruiser.
That's the personal favorite of mine from Double Dash.
Also, the 3 characters are all great picks.
Mm-hmm.
Good
4
additions.
characters?
No, Birdo
Birdo
came
was
out.
added last update.
Yeah, last time.
I'm an idiot. I'm sorry, guys.
Single-handedly sinking the podcast.
True. I'll be real. I don't know anything about Mario Kart. It's one of the few Nintendo franchises I don't really care about.
He's literally one of the 3 people on Earth who don't own Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
I said that, and everyone was shocked like when I was like talking about it. It's like, yeah, I just don't really have any interest in it. But yeah, not really much else to say with that regard.
I mean, it's good choices. So, and the new course looks cool. So it'll be interesting to see like what they decide to finish on. There's always that rumor that one of the last courses is going to be all the missing Rainbow Roads, and I don't know if they do. I doubt they do that. We got enough Rainbow Roads. We might get one more Rainbow Road, but I doubt we'll get anything more than like one. Yeah,
it's iconic. Last story of the day, of the very short news day. Tsukihime remake Localization announced for 2024 release. This comes from RPG site, written by Josh Tolentino. Developer Type Moon closed out its panel at the 2023 Anime Expo with a bombshell announcement. Tsukihime, A Piece of Blue Glass Moon, the remake of the 2000 legendary visual novel Tsukihime, will receive an English language release for the first time. The release is scheduled for sometime in 2024 on PS4 and Nintendo Switch. Dark, I'm immediately jumping into you. I know you have a lot of thoughts on this. Take it away.
Yo, Fate fans have been winning as of late. If you're a fan of the
Let's
Fate
go, baby.
series, even if you're not a fan of the Fate series, but this is very much his own thing, it's worth getting into the series just to give it a shot. It's about vampires, visual novel, good time. That's all there really is to say about it.
What's like the elevator pitch on Tsukihime? Like, as a Fate fan, like, why would I like Tsukihime?
Are you familiar with the Mystic Eyes in Fate? Because it really dives deep into that.
No.
So
I didn't get that far.
in Fate, there's different abilities that the summoner can have, and one of them is a super rare trait called Mystic Eyes. And the way that works is that the wearer, when they look at someone, all they see is lines. They see lines everywhere. Like they look at a human being and there's just red lines everywhere. What happens is that if they take a knife or something sharp and they cut those red lines, they'll instantly destroy or kill whatever it is that is there in front of them.
That's metal.
So they can completely destroy their buildings, instantly kill people. And this messes with the person who has this ability, of course. So it dives into that story of how they deal with this and everything that's tied to it. Tsukihime, like I mentioned, does revolve a plot around vampires. If you like Fate, it's worth giving it a shot.
All right. I'm excited for it. I love Fate. The idea of like kind of just its, well, not spiritual successor. Tsukihime was first, right?
I'm not sure which one came first, but they're part of the same world. Like characters mix from the two series.
Yeah, Tsukihime was 2000, and I think if I remember, Fate Stay Night was 2004. Let me check that out real quick.
Yeah, I did not know this was a Fate thing. I just saw this on the dock, and I'm like, what the hell is this?
So it's not just, there's a couple other spin-offs to Fate too, but this is like the really popular one.
Fate was 2004, so Tsukihime predates.
Yeah, it came first. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Really excited for it. But yeah, that's all for the news. But we have a topic of the show tonight, obviously, because it was such a slow news week. We thought, we want to get like a topic that we can probably delve more deep into. And this is actually going to be like one of our first like discussion topics that doesn't pertain maybe to like a news topic that is relevant to the week, but more so just like an overall like discussion that we wanted to have. We were talking a lot about this actually just the days coming up. With the big trend of remakes as of late, Dead Space remake, as we talked about earlier, Resident Evil 4 remake, and obviously remakes of the last few years. We wanted to talk about, whether or not remakes deserve to be considered for the big prestigious Game of the Year award. I have a lot of talking points over here, but I actually just want to like jump it on to everyone in the podcast. Like, what is your initial viewpoint of this topic?
Yes, they should be.
Just full stop, yes?
Yes, I think they should be.
Mine's on the caveat depending. It's a game by game basis, and when we get into like the proper discussion, I will tell my differences.
Fusion, I know you have a lot of thoughts on this. What about you?
Yeah, I think a remaster, absolutely not. A remake, I still lean no, like 97% of the time. Like if your game is completely different and it's been 30 years, I can see an argument, but other than that, I have no desire to see remakes in Game of the Year category.
And then Dirk?
It's case by case basis for me.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. It's just like very much it depends on what we're looking at. I guess just immediately to ask, like, as Fusion kind of brought up the idea of remasters, like what constitutes a remake over it being just considered a remaster? This was actually a very controversial topic when Last of Us Part 1 came out. People being upset about it being called a remake when it's actually a remaster, all that. Like, what do you guys consider, like, kind of what a remake is versus a remaster?
I'd say a remaster is something using the bones of the first game, whether like look at Metroid Prime Remaster. It's kind of they pretty much used the code and everything of the game and made it look better. But a remake is something made from the ground up. Whether it be the exact same or have differences, if it's made from the ground up, it's a remake. End of story.
Yeah.
I mean, we see a lot of ground up remakes very much take like a lot of like the original code and mesh from the original game and still very much ground up from like what constitutes being from the ground up.
Yeah, because like the Crash Bandicoot Insane trilogy still operates, I think, exactly as the original games, but it was built from the ground up. Like the original
Exactly.
difficulty and like how that game operates is still there, is still intact. At least from what I heard from Crash Bandicoot diehards.
Yeah, as a diehard, I can tell you that's true.
I think as for me, a remake something where it's like you can look at the original and you can look at the remade version, and it's not just a visual upgrade. Like the Final Fantasy VII to the Final Fantasy VII remake. Like that is a total remake compared to like
That's more than a remake,
Okay,
honestly.
so Final Fantasy VII is an interesting case because they
Yeah,
pulled a
that's
Square
cool.
Enix with this one.
I put it up as one of the talking points. FF7 remake specifically. FF7 remake being considered a remake or a whole new game.
It's a sequel.
It's 100% a sequel. They're not even telling us why they titled it remake, which is to tell you enough as it is. They
money.
made this game
Money.
with the intention of people going into it after playing the original, which is really weird to do.
I don't think
But,
that's
you
the
know,
case.
I think
feel like
that's
it's
how they're doing it.
I think
I
it's supposed to
feel
be like a double meaning. Like it's a remake because yes, we're remaking the original game. We're doing it again, but it's also a remake in terms of the story.
Yeah,
In terms
Sephiroth
of
is
like
gonna
this,
mention remake in the story. He's gonna name drop
yeah,
it.
he's gonna like I'm remaking my story. He's gonna
if
name
he
drop
says
it like
remake,
that.
I swear to God, I'm just gonna turn off the game right then and there.
He's gonna do it. It's either him or Cloud's gonna say it. I'm telling you now.
No, first he's gonna say I'm gonna remake my story and I'm gonna be reborn. This is my rebirth.
This
No,
is
whatever
my
the hell the
reborn.
last one's called.
Resurrection,
It's Resurrection. Yeah.
reunion.
I put FF7, but I also thought about this. What about the Resident Evil remakes? You know, RE2 remake, RE3 remake.
No,
I
because
feel like
it's like
It can be considered.
it's like
It's
90%
literally
the same game.
there's
I don't
That's
know.
not
2
true.
and 3
See, I don't
I don't think
especially.
that's the case.
2
No,
and
no, no,
3
no.
are going from top down, like to complete behind the shoulder. But I still think RE4 can be considered because it's a remake.
RE3 is actually a demake because there's less there's a lot of cut content in RE3.
Yeah, RE3
Yeah,
It's actually
sucks.
it's actually recommended that you play the original RE3 for the remake, which is crazy.
Yeah, I played remake, but like to me, Resident Evil 2 is a remake, like more of a remake than like what Resident Evil 4 is. Because Resident Evil
Yeah.
4, it obviously is a remake, but it's more of like a Resident Evil 4 in 2005 plays like it does now. You know what I mean? Like it even you're just visually like Resident Evil 2, the original, to like how Binks was saying to the remake. It's like a totally different camera angle. Like you're going fully, they went fully different with it.
Yeah, so I would consider Resident Evil 2 remake a full remake, whereas Resident Evil 4, while yes, it's built from the ground up, it
But
is
it
still
feels more like a
essentially the
remaster.
same game. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a very pretty remaster that's built from the ground up.
Ah,
It has
While it
better
still
controls, but
it has
if you
better
played the original
controls, yes,
RE4,
because you
don't take it
modernize
seriously.
it.
We
Yeah,
can
so
argue
the-
that. We can argue that.
And like better controls is just being a modern game. That's not
Yeah,
like
that's just a quality of life
Yeah.
adjustment.
I like the controls of the original game more, but that's just me.
Also, if you really want to get into the nitty gritty, RE4 remake is missing a lot more content than the original. Which, if you want to get into the demake situation, it's getting
I
close.
mean, it could be a remake, but I'm just saying it's not no remake. But my point
it's a
point is like
remake.
my point is when I'm looking at a year, we know. Okay, for example, Resident Evil 4 remake's gonna be nominated, so that means some game that comes out this year that was a new IP, a new franchise, a new something is getting shafted for a game that came out in 2005 and won Game of the Year in 2005.
Great. It's a great game. It's the first time I've played it, so it's going to be on my list.
That's not the point. People like we
That's-
know how
that's not-
good Resident Evil
Yeah,
4
that's
is.
just your list. I don't know if that's the most
Yeah.
prestigious one in the world.
Yeah, personal list is fine.
Yeah, personally,
course.
you do what you want. It's all. But I'm saying when you're looking, when the lights are on, when the journalists are doing their things, when they're voting, which is why I think a remake hasn't won. To people like a remake has not won yet, and there's only been a few that's ever been up. But I think it's also because a lot of the journalists share the same point where they're like, it doesn't. Even if the game is really good, we know it's good. Like Dead Space was great in 2008. It wasn't gonna get worse all of a sudden. Resident Evil 4 in 2005 was amazing. It's considered a masterpiece to like everyone who's ever played it. It won, like I said, it won Game of the year it came out. How is it fair to place it next to the games that came out this year?
I mean,
I feel
look
like-
at RE3 though. It's worse than the original.
Yeah, that
Okay.
game just sucks.
I don't know what they were. That game came out like too quick after Resident Evil 2 remake.
Yeah,
I
it's a
don't know what they were
different
doing. They
It's a
just threw it
different
out there. But you know what I mean. But like, it just feels like you're gonna some games this year. Hi-Fi Rush something is going to get the shaft because we could have 2 remakes. I'm not saying Dead Space gets in. I don't think it does at this point. But it's like I feel like Resident Evil Remake feels like a lock. It's like, dude, that game was a 96 on Metacritic 15, 18 years ago. Like, it's not. Why are we throwing it in now? Give a different game a chance. Give a
Yeah, so
Diablo a chance, or a Final Fantasy 16 a chance, or like
yeah,
something
it's
that.
like why are we
Okay,
giving this game
counterpoint.
that's what was I saying? It's like, yes, it was already a good game, so we're throwing it in the game of the year category again, but now it has a new coat of paint and it plays and it plays better. It has modern controls.
It's
So
like
it's
we
like,
need a remake. A remake category would simplify this instantly. Like,
I wanted to add that real quick. Dark, you were about to say something.
Yeah, fucking forgot off the top of my head. But
All right, cool.
yeah,
You gotta.
no, that's good. I actually
Are you
did
good?
forget. Yeah.
Okay, so as Fusion said, like there should be a category. That's one of the topping points. Like, should there be a new category added for remakes or remasters? And I also wanted to add, if there was a new category added, should remakes and remasters be separated?
I mean, a
I think
remake's
there
not a
should be.
remaster.
I
I
mean,
think there should be a category, but at this point, the people making the games at this point still don't understand the difference from a remake and a remaster because they're calling them the same thing anyways. So like, I think separating them doesn't do much. You might as well throw them in there together. The only people who are gonna
No,
care are people like us.
it's
I mean, wait.
it's obvious to tell what a remake and a remaster is.
Okay, what's considered remastered at this point?
A
Like, I
remaster is
feel like
the same old game just with better graphics. Like, there's nothing
yeah,
changed about the game. Remakes from
that's
the
kind of my
ground
good
up.
point.
I don't think we need a remaster category. I think we just need a remake
yeah, 'cause,
category.
I mean, a remaster is never going to win any kind of award
That's what I mean.
because
Yeah.
so it's
I
like
mean, sure
might as
about
well
that.
just throw it in the same one. It could get nominated for like, hey, you made this game real pretty, but it's not going to win over something like
Like
a Resident Evil 4 remake or a Dead Space remake.
Exactly. Yeah.
like part one was nominated for multiple awards last year, but not Game of the Year.
It
And it's a
was.
remaster. Yeah. It was best
Huh.
audio. There was a couple other things where part one was
Oh yeah,
nominated
yeah,
for it.
you're right.
It's like that. Yeah, that makes sense. You remaster a game, like it can be up there. But like, I'm the biggest Last of Us fan of all time, and I would have been furious if that game, like, because we know how good that game is. You know, it won in
Exactly.
2013, 10 years ago. It doesn't need to be back up there. Like
Okay, so
when you
another thing
think
with
of a
Last of
year,
Us.
go
Sorry for
on.
cutting you off. It shouldn't exist. You have the remastered version, which runs perfectly
That's a
fine.
whole different argument. That's a
Yeah,
different argument.
No,
yeah.
We're talking if it could be considered for Game of the Year. This is just like that's a Fusion. He's had a long week. We don't want him to have to fight for Last of Us again. All right.
My point is like you look at like you're gonna look back at the year 2023 and like obviously Resident Evil 4 remake and Dead Space are like huge games that came out and they're gonna be like they make the year even better. But I do not want to look back on 2023 and be like, yeah, Resident Evil 4, the game from 2005, was the best game in 2023. Like that was the game of the year. When it's like I
Mhm.
want to look back at 2023 and think of what modern new video games came out: the Final Fantasy 16, the Spider-Man, the Starfield games where it's like they surprise you. We have no idea if Starfield's going to be good. We hope it is. The moment it's special when a game like Starfield drops and wins Game of the Year, or a game like Zelda drops and wins Game of the Year, compared to like if your Resident Evil 4 remake comes out and wins Game of the Year for the second time. It's like, okay, cool, that was a real fun event.
I mean, to be fair, some people will argue that like Zelda and Game of the Year kind of go hand in hand all the time. If you
Well,
haven't
that's
realized.
because you can't rate a Zelda under a 10. Apparently, I
Yeah.
don't know. Same with
Apparently.
Mario. That's just how it works. Like
Deserves it.
that's like I'm not saying they don't. I'm just saying like they're always going to get high scores, but it's like there's something special about like looking back on the year and being like, okay, that game in 2022, I already forgot what won last year. But, like,
2022 was Elden Ring.
okay, yeah, Elden Ring, exactly. Like 2022, Elden Ring was that game, and it took it took 2022 by storm.
Oh
Like a
yeah.
remake taking your year by storm just doesn't seem like your personal list. Do what you want, but I feel from like a journalist, like the integrity of video games, like sounds just cringe, but like the integrity of video games. It's the same thing for movies. You don't come out and win Best Picture, you know what I mean? As like a when they upgrade a movie or like remaster a
Yeah, it's
movie,
like when
HD a movie.
Avatar came back in like 3D or whatever. Because it's
Yeah,
like, oh, this has to be movie of the year.
like
Okay, well,
it
hang on.
just in every medium, video games are getting to a point where they like obviously at least in Jeff Keighley's world, he wants it to be more professional, and it's like I feel like you keep the professional, you keep the integrity, you leave the remakes out of the game of the year. If you want to put them wherever else, best remake category, do as you please. And on your personal list, that's up to you. But I feel like in a grounded conversation about it, a remake taking spots from brand new games that have their first chance at getting it, it just doesn't seem fair.
Keeley wants it to be more professional. He still has those fucking like segments where he has people on stage for no reason whatsoever.
Those the
Yeah,
Muppet.
professional equals celebrities apparently. So that's
Yeah,
something.
I mean, it's more eyes on it, but yeah, I'm not
Yeah, I
saying
get what you
everything's
mean.
right with the Game Awards in general, but I'm not
Oh
even
yeah,
talking about just Jeff Keighley's. I'm talking about Dice's. I'm talking about all of them. Like you know
agreed.
what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and it's very rare. Like you point out, it's the last remake that got even put on the list was Final Fantasy VII remake, and that one was like, that's one of the small arguments where it's like it feels like a totally new game. It's been 25 years, whatever, and it felt like genuinely totally
And
new.
it changed genres. So
Yeah,
it's
Yeah.
like
so like you rarely see the remakes. It's becoming a conversation, especially this year because of Resident Evil, and like everyone's just penciling in Resident Evil because we all know how good Resident Evil 4 is. But we
Oh,
knew
of
before
course.
that remake came out how good the video game was.
just Fusion
Um.
talking about this just makes me realize like how boring the Game Awards is going to be this year, because it's either going to be the generic, oh well, Zelda did it again, got to give it to Zelda, or it's going to be, well, here's a remake of a 15-year-old game, got to give it to this one.
Hey man, Starfield, couple months.
Yeah, Starfield has a major hill to
Starf-
climb.
Starfield is our savior for cool game
I can't
awards.
believe I'm actually rooting for Starfield now. What was before coming to?
Real quick, Fusion kind of like mentioned the point of like remakes not winning awards. I pulled up for the like kind of the awards section on Wikipedia for RE2 and FF7 remakes because those seem to be kind of our major ones that we wanted to talk
Those are
about.
like the two best examples of like games that can be considered because they are mild to big departure from their original.
And to be clear, those games are totally on a different remake level than Resident Evil 4 remake.
Yeah.
So let's just point that out there. That both those
Yeah, of
games are
course.
like we said, Resident Evil 4 is more of a remaster that they're calling remake because like they've already
A
started the
remake.
remake names.
I think it's still. I don't know.
I
I
mean,
feel like I would still
It's a
consider it a remake, but
it's
not
a
like
re-
a full
that's why it's
remake the
not the
same
Final Fantasy
level.
7 or
it's
Resident Evil 2 level,
it's
but
a remake of the lower end.
Exactly. Yeah. But like for RE2, it only won Game of the Year for one show, and that was the Golden Joystick Awards. But that was in 2019. That was very much like a niche year of games. A lot of critics were afraid to play Sekiro, which was one of the best games of all time. But yeah, no, that's kind of like an interesting example. And then FF7 Remake didn't win Game of the Year anywhere.
that's what I
Yeah.
mean. Like it
It was
usually
only
doesn't happen.
nominated for like RPG of the year.
Yeah, it got
And I
nominated
think
for a lot of categories.
it was kind of fun his game of the year that
7
year.
Remake was snubbed from every
Do you
category.
trust kind of
No,
fun?
I'm not. I'm just saying. I like
No.
some outlets have had it. Like I think it was Easy Allies. Like some outlets have. But I think that's my point. Is the people, the journalists, the people writing in for Game of the Year every year. I think they know in the back of their mind. Now Resident Evil 4 is like I said, a beloved like cult following game where like if any game has a chance, it will be Resident Evil 4. But I feel
Yeah.
like they know themselves where like when they're get. I feel like in the back of their mind they're like, well, this doesn't make much sense because like 2023, you want to think of games like Final Fantasy 16 and your Spider Man and your Starfield and Star Wars and like you want to think of games that came out brand new day and date in that year.
That's fair. Yeah. And real quick, I did want to also mention. Never mind. I just completely forgot what I was going to say. But I guess the last thing on this: will this topic continue to stay relevant in future discussions? Will we keep talking about this? Like, will this podcast, when we go on 5 years later, will we still be talking about this?
Given
Yes.
the amount of remakes that still keep coming out, yes. But
Yeah,
I will say it probably won't be as prevalent as it is right now with Dead Space and RE4, because those are like some big hitters. And until we get remakes of like, I don't know, what's another really big game from
I
like
mean Super
10
Mario RPGs this year, but that's
Super Mario
after.
RPG, and yeah, there's a lot of big contenders for maybe there'll still be like remasters and do ports and like cleaned up ports and whatnot. But I think this year of like really big bombastic remakes probably isn't going to be very often. I think it's just a
Yeah,
coincidence that we're getting all these big art remakes in one single year.
yeah, kind of
So
in a row.
yeah, so we might get like one or two next year that we don't know about yet, but I don't think it's going to be like this again. But the conversation will still be around,
Yeah,
especially
we're in the
um,
remake stage. Like
Yeah.
a game of like Demon Souls remake was one of the highest rated games of 2020. That wasn't nominated, you know what I mean? But like it was like
Of
a
course.
92 when that game like it was a
Yeah.
very high rated game. And
It's like
like I
no one
feel
would
like
consider that for game of the year.
yeah, like people just granted that was the same year Final Fantasy 7 entered, but like
Yeah, of
I don't
course.
know.
Yeah, but
Also, go ahead.
Things like Demon Souls, they didn't have that pedigree like Resident Evil 4 has. Like the original Demon Souls, I don't think got any
Yeah,
kind of
no,
awards
yeah,
like that.
no.
So this is all just about this is already an award-winning game getting remade to be another award-winning game.
Yeah, that's my thing with it is like I could see like people will make arguments well like say like okay, say for example when Mass Effect 2 lost Game of the Year to Uncharted 2 that year. And then like
What?
same yeah,
No,
it lost to like
no. Mass,
or so I forget,
Mass
either way
Effect 2,
Mass
Mass Effect 2
won
is
it.
2010.
Okay,
Uncharted 2 is 2009. I know my
okay, sorry.
Uncharted release dates.
I'm sorry. It lost to Red Dead Redemption, the original.
Yeah,
Not
that's it.
sorry. Mass Effect 2 lost to Red Dead Redemption. And it's like so it didn't get Game of the Year like at all that year, and that's like considered one of the greatest RPGs like of all time. Blah blah. Like I see people will make the argument and be like, well, if a remake comes out and 15 years later they finally have the chance to win that award that that people think they should have won 15 years ago. Blah blah. You could see that, but it's like games. Most remakes nowadays, you're remaking games that are masterpieces or like worthy of a remake. Like you know the pedigree and like how good they are. Why give them more awards? They don't need it. Last of Us has been given like a million awards every other year. Like it doesn't need more. like
That's Sony
we
milking them.
whoever I don't care who's doing it. I'm just saying like we need to like the remake discussion probably will never end unless Jeff comes out and is like, hey, we're gonna make a remake category. Let's just move on from that conversation. But
Jeff is our savior.
Like
I
always.
like we need
Like
a best
always, my
horror
ass.
game. We need some more categories.
Agreed. And real quick, I remember what I had to say, and that was when Bench said that FF7 remake got snubbed. What are you on about? Ghost of Tsushima got snubbed from 2020
That as well.
awards.
No,
People
let's
shit
not.
on that game and it's incredible and
We
it
ain't
makes
talking
me
about
mad.
snubs
How
because
do people
that's
shit on that game? I don't get
because
it.
Hades
It
came out
scored
that year.
low.
Hades is better than both those games.
Well, no, I agree with you,
Uh,
Bench. For
That's
some
true
reason,
though. Hades fucking solos.
no. Okay, here's the thing. I will accept Hades, and I will accept.
Part 2 won and it should have won. So let's not leave that.
Like I said, I will accept Hades.
It was the most awarded video game of all time.
Ghost of Tsushima
No,
was so
Elden
good.
Ring.
That's what I'm saying. I'm
No, we're
saying
not
it
doing.
was.
Okay. We're not starting
I
on
don't
the Last
know.
of Us 2
Ghost
discussion.
of Tsushima only have an 83 on Metacritic. That's
That
a
is
crime.
criminal. That is
It's
insane
a
to me.
very it's a very good game and one of my favorite PS4 games. But like people have the outlook of like it was a glorified Ubisoft game, which in some aspects it
What do
was,
you?
but it's so much better
Oh,
than anything
I
Ubisoft has put out.
Story and characters and
easily.
the combat, come on.
Every aspect of that game is freaking masterpiece. I love
There was
that
a
game
lot
so
of
much.
Fox shrines and a lot of like there was a lot of Fox shrines and outposts where you had to
You don't have
take
to
some
do them.
hostages.
Don't do
I
them then.
that they're still in the game. That makes the game good or bad. That's the
Makes it
content of
good,
the
but you
video
don't have to
game.
do them.
I think it's the repetitive nature that a lot of
That's what I
people have
mean. Like
problems with.
that, it
The
has some
combat
open
loop
world
is
repetitiveness. The
enough to
combat's
keep it going.
amazing. I
Yes.
platinumed that game, so
Also, it has a hard mode that's unlockable from the start. Sorry, we're gonna get to that later.
Yo, I know a game that doesn't though. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, what do you know? All right, but that's it for the remake discussion. Real quick, any last talking points, or are we all good there?
That's about it.
just
I
keep
Okay.
them
think I
out.
said everything
Put
I
them on your
wanted.
personal list if you're weird, but that's about it.
I guess I'm freaking weird then.
I guess I'm weird
Everyone,
too.
everyone in here does it but me. So like, I know I'm in the minority for the most part, at least among us.
Among
um,
Us.
okay,
Sus.
I was gonna try to move past without making an Among Us joke, Dark. All right, this is a professional podcast.
Is it? Is it?
No, it's not. Moving on to what we've been playing, we want to talk about just real quick, like everything that we've been playing. I think the big thing is Final Fantasy 16. Fusion beat it. Bench is still playing it, and I'm still playing it. I have a lot of thoughts, but I'll let you two talk first.
I am close to the end. I should beat it in the next 2 to 3 days. And I am still absolutely loving it. The story, the characters, the combat, everything is still as good as it was, like 20 hours ago is where I was last week. And I think what's pretty impressive about this game is the cast around the main character, and not just like the main side, like not kind of a guest party member kind of thing, but even beyond that, some of the hideaway members and other people at different towns. It's pretty impressive how they interact with Clive and their stories. I'm just loving the game.
Fusion.
Yeah, I very much enjoyed it. It is probably, like I said, it's the second best game I played this year. It's one of those games where I love it. I love the characters. I love it a lot about it. But it's one of those games where you like sit back and you look at it from like a logical perspective. Like after you beat the game, after you go through like the honeymoon phase, quote unquote, and like just some of the side content and the
Some.
pacing, like okay, most
Go
of the
ahead. Go
side
ahead. Go ahead.
content
Go ahead.
and the pacing. After I stopped, after I rolled credits, I still really enjoyed it. But I'm like, man, some of this stuff was like could have been just cut, or like the game didn't need to be this long. Like certain things where it's like this game could have been the like this is the must play PS5 title, and it has moments, especially in boss fights, where you're like
I'd say it is
everyone should
must play.
experience this, but then it has really weird lows. And I don't play all the Final Fantasy games. It's my first one at launch, so I can't compare them to like any of the other ones or how the other franchise games play. But like it's just one of those games where when I took a step back after I finished it and thought about it the next few days, my score still hasn't changed. I still really liked it. It will probably be in my top 5 this year. If it gets out of my top 5 this year, I'd be very surprised. That means the second half is very good. But it's not. I do see Wolf talk about how like he doesn't see where the 10 out of 10s could come in. Like
Here
I
we
don't
go.
see how you can look at this game and be like, this is a 10 when like some of the side content is genuinely so boring that.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the combat, but I'm not gonna lie. There was times where I'm staggering a person and I can scroll through Twitter while I'm in combat because that's how simple it was. I
Bro
am
has like a
dead
toggle.
serious. I could sit there and just spam square at times and just scroll on Twitter. Your combat system is good, but it's not good enough if I'm able to do that.
All right. All right,
Can
Fusion.
I go one more before you crush my dreams?
Oh yeah, no, go for it, man. I'm ready.
Like I said, I'm still loving the game, and I do think it's a must play on PS5 and the best PS5 game. So I'd highly recommend. There's some things everyone needs to see in the game. So I'd really recommend that. And I had something else to say, but I lost my train of thought. So
Awesome.
Side
Okay, well, I'm
content.
gonna jog it. This game sucks. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I am extremely. I'm much lower than it on you guys than you guys though. I think this game has been just extremely disappointing for me. I still think the game's great. I think when the game works, it really works. I think just from a spectacle standpoint, a lot of those icon fights are really good. But also, difficulty wise, this game is so easy. It is just genuinely unplayable for me at points with how bored I get. I wanted to test this out. One of the icon fights, I'm not going to spoil which one it is, but I think a lot of the people and you guys know which one I'm talking about. I haven't gone to like the big one that everyone been hyping up, but the one I did, I wanted to
the
see
Titan.
just like
I'm just
I just said I'm not going to spoil it, Bench.
Like, Bench doesn't give a shit about anyone's opinions
It's
when it
been
comes to
3
Final Fantasy,
weeks, and
obviously.
it's you're
Yeah,
gonna
it's been
fight it. So
it's an exclusive game.
Yo,
Not
It's been
everyone
3 weeks
played it.
in a
yo, give
60-hour
me like a
video
month.
game.
Holy shit, the fuck?
You think I have the? Oh my god.
you're gonna fight it whenever you start
No,
the
no
game.
one does.
You
Going
fight it
into it.
all.
Oh my god. Okay, whatever. The freaking Titan fight, since Bench decided to spoil it. I just wanted to see, can I beat this fight with one hand? Guess what? I can. I genuinely
Okay.
just used one hand and I beat the whole fight. It was a joke. It was genuinely without any trouble. And yeah, spectacle wise, it's pretty cool. But
Fight was very good.
I don't really care about what's going on when I'm just not even having any trouble at all. As Fusion also said, the side content is a joke. He says, "Oh well, most of the side content." I genuinely think all the side content sucks. I think there's like one or two cool quests. That's about it. I skip all of it because I just don't care. And main quest wise, there are these literal side quests that they disguise as main quests that you have to do, where you're just talking to random people who I don't give a shit about, and talking about doing random town shit that I don't give a shit about. Nothing about it I care, and I just want to play the game and experience the story, but it's like the game is genuinely robbing me from that experience. It's overall, just rant over FF16. It's a good game, but again, as Fusion said, how the fuck did this game get a 10 out of 10? In any
I
way, how did they give this game a 10 out of 10? Eventually, you got it,
I
Race.
I got my train of thought back. So I will say going into FF16, there's going to be two different mindsets you go in. You want it to be a hardcore action game, or you're going for the classic Final Fantasy story. And maybe you're there for both, but normally I'd say people have one or the other, and that's going to drastically determine what your experience with the game is. Like, I've came in for the story way first, and the combat is pretty secondary, and that's why I'm loving the game. You're going from hallway to hallway, cutscenes sometimes, sure, but I'm there for the ride, and I'm absolutely loving it. And I think that's just
Here's
what I came to the game with.
here's my counter argument. They have a mode for the people who want to play it as an action game, but they lock it behind hard, like you beating the actual fucking game first. Why is hard mode a mode that is in every video game ever made? Just like selecting a hard mode. Why do I have to beat the game to unlock it? Why is that a thing? I can understand if it's like an ultra nightmare mode, like something like in a Devil May Cry, but just basic hard mode? I find the game too easy. I want to pump it up to hard mode, but the game
The
doesn't let
hard
me.
mode, the hard mode starts you at level 50 when you start the game, and it remixes enemies throughout the
Okay,
entire game.
cool.
It's
Why isn't there an actual hard mode for the main game where you don't need to do all that and just make the combat more difficult and interesting?
I'd say it's interesting.
That's fair. I don't. Tark, what about you? You got your hand raised?
Yeah, so I want to preface this because Bench is gonna eat my ass if I don't fucking preface this. I have not played the game. I don't have a PlayStation, so what I do for games I don't own is that I watch it if I'm interested. Like I watch a
Xbox.
full playthrough, and I watch it entirely, so I can still keep up with the story and have conversations with stuff. So I'm talking from a pure story perspective. As Bench said, if you go into this game simply for story compared to gameplay, you have a different thing. I'm a massive Final Fantasy fan. I've played through nearly most of them, and for the ones I couldn't, I watched. I was not big on the story personally. I think it keeps the track of all the other Final Fantasies where it's a different Final Fantasy for every different person. You're not gonna like every single one. Same case here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was just my piece.
Fusion, what about you?
Yeah, just this is my last thing. You were talking about the icon fights, how they were so easy, and I do agree they are very easy, but they feel more like on the rail set pieces for the most part. Where like I'm okay with them not being that hard. I just wish like the actual like my combat encounter of me like getting like any just random combat encounter. I wish those were a little harder. Like the actual enemies were a little harder. And then with the side content, I know you hate it right now, but I promise you, the last like 20% of the game has some of the best side content I've played in a while. But the other problem is there's 76 side quests in this video game. When like
Jesus Christ.
12 of them are maybe good, you don't need the other 60, bro. Like the last few side quests are like very very good. They like build up characters. You get character arc endings. Like they're great. They're phenomenal. But there's 76 side quests in your video game, and when 60 of them are just fetch quests or
Just
boring
don't
or
have them in the
doesn't add
game.
anything, you don't need them in the game. And Binch is against this. Binch wants everything in the game. He's like, okay, I just want it all. I want the game to be 100 hours. Your game does not get better when it's a bunch of quantity that's just bad. Like just
I
Exactly.
make it
will
quality stuff.
I will also say I am very weird and like fetch quests and other side quests as well. I like fetch quests and just going to do stuff, kind of getting in the motion with it. So I'm not always going to a side quest for a coherent story. Sometime I want that little break from the main quest and just go goof off and do an easy side quest and just finish that, get what I need and go. So it has some of that and it has some deep side quests. So it's a win-win for me personally, and I know
The
not
problem.
everyone feels that way.
I think it has too many fetch quests. Though. You can have some fetch quests that like
Exactly.
throw some pacing breaks in there. Like we're gonna break up the pace a little bit. I'm gonna go do a couple fetch quests. But when the majority of your quests are fetch quests or just quest or like a combat encounter real quick, that's not good game design.
I'll use this
Moon, what's
example.
your call?
Well, no, I just want to use this example and then I'll bring it over to Moon. Skyrim has a lot of side quests that are very much fetch quests that are, hey, can you take this to High Hrothgar? Can you take, can you deliver me some wood? They're very much miscellaneous quests, but you know what else it has? Is it has the Dark Brotherhood, it has the Thieves Guild, it has these massive, large, interesting stories and side quests that are genuinely like, from a gameplay perspective, interesting as well. A lot of the side quests, yeah, sure, I believe you that the stories are pretty interesting for them. The gameplay's not. The gameplay isn't there for any of the side quests, in my opinion. I haven't had a single side quest where I'm like, wow, that was a really intense encounter. Nothing at all.
I
I
will
mean,
say
go
that.
ahead.
Oh, that
Go.
I mean, you guys kind of at the end there got to what I was about to ask, but like you're saying, like 60 of the 75 are like just fetch quests and whatever. So I just wanted to ask, like, how many of those like 60 bad side quests would you say is just a simple fetch quest?
60.
They all
most
have a
of
little
them.
more to them. They're not
Yeah.
fully fetch quests.
I mean, but they're to the point, Moon, where it's like someone asks you to go get something, so you go and get a very quick combat encounter that you'll beat in 3 minutes because there is no fighting
Not even
back.
3 minutes, like 30 seconds.
You'll pick up an item and then you return it to someone.
Yeah. So it's like fetch quests are fine, but it's like just you can't have an overabundance of them.
And that
Oh,
game, that's the one issue with this entire game. I feel like this game just like cut it by like 15, 20 hours and you have like your video game is
100%.
so good. But it's like
100%.
it feels like everything in this game is the hunts. There's like hunts that
Best
I
part
know
of the
you
game.
like. But
That's the best part of the game.
there's like
Yeah, I've gotten into
35 of
some
them.
hunts and it's great.
Why is there 35 of them? You don't need this many. Like,
I agree with that. Like, I mean, I still said to this day, my favorite part of the game, the most fun I had with this game was the S tier hunt, where the game said, you know what, we're not going to treat you like a baby. This thing is like 16 levels higher than you. It's going to kick your ass, but I'm going to utilize my counters. I'm going to utilize like the actual combat at its peak. Because to this, I think the combat by itself is genuinely phenomenal. But the issue is that it doesn't let you really take a hold of that combat and really have fun with it because it just treats you like it. I wanted to point this out. The AI is horrible at
it
points.
kind of holds
The,
your hand.
the AI is like I wanted to test this out. I wish I actually posted this video in the Discord or something. I was fighting an enemy and I just thought about what if I just stand completely still and do nothing? And he was just looking at me, no
Yeah, they do
joke,
that.
for 20 seconds before he finally decided to attack not me, but my dog. And I was just like, this. Why? Why do you have such an amazing combat system bogged down by all these accessory things like the AI, like the fact that I can't really utilize the combat at its peak? You know, that's my viewpoint of the
I was
situation.
going for a trophy where I needed someone to engage me in combat, and I'm not kidding. I sat there with like this certain ability up, and I was not getting hit. They were just like walking around me. I'm like, bro, I'm on your hardest difficulty that you allow me to be on. Like, hit me, do something. And then the one thing is, the hunts are cool. I did about like 15 of them before I was like, okay, I'm done. I
Nice.
already did 76 of your side quests. But I feel like one thing I haven't seen people bring up is like the enemy designs are great, but the enemy variety is very there's not a large pool of enemy variety. You're fighting basically
Oh
the
yeah.
same things
Yeah.
a lot, and when you're doing that over 70 hours or however long you're going to put into this game, even the hunts are like a lot of the same things, just better versions of each other.
Well, I'd say the hunts can feel a little more variety, but
Well, they
basic
definitely
enemies,
are.
yeah. There's because hunts like there's more, I guess, character to the designs, but for variety, yeah, I think that
I,
wasn't a little bit of an issue, but I don't care in the grand scheme of things.
I'm just gonna say this. Like overall, I'll beat this game, but it feels almost like I'm forcing myself to beat it at this point. I was thinking about it, it's like, damn, I really just want to play Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, you know? It's just that feeling. I feel like I would enjoy that game way more. I am so genuinely burnt out on this game. And again, I will say, I haven't talked about it. The story is, like, the main story is great. I think there are a lot of characters I do really like. We'll see how it all concludes. I'm very interested to see that. But, I mean, overall, like, that part of the
My
game is great.
advice, my
Go
advice
for it.
to you is if you don't want to shelf this game, mainline it, and I think you're going to have a good time. I think
Oh, no, that's what I'm
if you
doing
just,
now.
yeah, like if you just ignore, like I said, there's some side quests at the end that I think are really good, but like just even ignore those, like just get to the ending, roll credits, and I think you'll be fine. I think you'll walk away being like, it was a good game.
I
Yeah,
think
I mean, that's what I want to at
the
least go
next
away with.
fight you do should give you the momentum to really push through to the end.
I keep saying that, and I'm like, I don't
I think,
know anymore.
yeah, I'm with him. I think the next fight you do is the best fight in the game.
It'll
Everyone
give you
keeps saying that.
the drive to finish it up in a positive attitude.
I'll say this. I kept asking. Dark can attest to this. I kept asking him. It's like, please, for the love of God, tell me that fight is close. I just want something cool to happen. I
You're
am
close.
losing my fucking mind.
You're close.
I know. Whatever.
You just have like about 4 or 5 more mid quests, like from mid the
No, no,
character, and then like you get there.
But that like
no.
that whole like mission's 2 hours, so like set aside the time.
Oh no, I did the mid quest.
Uh,
Yeah, that was like I skipped all those cutscenes. Every time she talked, I skipped through it because I
the
was like, I don't
the
need to listen to this
glorified
dumbass.
the glorified side quest that they just
Their
threw in the main
glorified side
quest real
quest is
quick.
main quest. It's a joke. All right. Yeah, that's everything about FF16. my favorite game of the year, as you can tell. Dark, what about your other games? Please just talk more about Final Fantasy. I
Yeah,
love
I'm
this
sorry
franchise.
to keep talking about more Final Fantasy. So last time I was playing through Final Fantasy X. I have since completed that. Um, yeah, I think that game's ass. I'm not gonna
Whoa.
get into. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons for this. I'm not gonna dive too deep into it for now. I think this game is very like for the people who say that it's like incredible and the best. I think it's very nostalgia focused. It's very much a game of its time. You know, it had like the nice graphics, lots of water cutscenes. Actually, an abundance of water cutscenes. Gameplay and everything else doesn't really hold up to it that well in this day and age, in my opinion. I've since moved on to Final Fantasy XII, which is the final game I have yet to experience in some capacity, and I'm absolutely loving it. I think this has a contender to be my favorite in the series. It's pretty much Final Fantasy meets Star Wars, and it's the oddest. It is so odd of how many different genres it mixes, and it just works because it mixes in like KOTOR and Xenoblade gameplay, along with like all types of like other shit, and it's like an MMO, but not. I don't know. I'm having a good time
Um,
with it though.
yeah, no, that's great to hear. I guess I'll ask you this: do you think I would like FF12?
I think you would honestly.
It's
It's
offline
really
MMO,
weird that
kind of like
nobody talks
Xenoblade.
about it.
Ah,
Yeah, so if you're familiar with how Xenoblade or KOTOR works with its gameplay, it's very MMO-like. It's similar to that, but not because it's actually like turn-based. You have to think it through. There's a lot more than just like auto battling. But I think the plot and cast in this crew is like top tier. Like it's up there, Final Fantasy IX, which I hold to be the best Final Fantasy so far. But I think this is gonna top it. If
interesting.
I had one complaint about the game, there are dungeons in this game. They're fucking long as shit. You be in the
Oh
dungeon
yeah.
for a bit. But besides
You're gonna
that,
fight Tiamat, right?
I don't know about that.
Hey Ben, should be careful spoiling things like you already spoiled
It's
FF16.
not. It's
Just
an
want to mention that
optional
real quick.
boss. It's not
I'm just
spoiling
saying,
anything.
don't say it.
Okay, to get into what Bench is saying, for those who don't, Final Fantasy XII has an optional boss that takes like 6 hours to beat. You can save in the middle of this boss,
Oh
leave
my
the boss fight,
lord.
go get items, and come back. I don't know how that
Oh
even
yeah,
works.
I heard about this one. No,
I don't
I
know
That
how
heard
sounds
that
about
like
even
that.
absolute
works.
torture. I would hate my
Yeah,
life.
I don't know if I'm gonna do that. Bench wants me to do it because he wants me to torture
You
myself.
got to do it.
I'm probably gonna end up doing this. I love
Yeah.
this
You're
game.
gonna
What else
do
do
it.
you
Yeah,
get to do with your time?
exactly.
Play other games, but you know.
What's it called? Fusion. You haven't just been playing FF16. You've also been playing a couple other games.
Yeah, I beat Diablo 4 on the same day that I beat Final Fantasy 16, which is a little odd, but
That
like
sounds like a full
Gamer,
day.
bro.
yeah, I powered
Wow.
through. Well, by the time I started Final Fantasy 16, I was already almost all the way through Diablo 6. I was on the last act. So like when I picked it back up, it only took me like 2.5 hours to like get back to it. I will say, dodging with R1 so much in Final Fantasy 16, and then going back to Diablo where the dodge is O. I was like, I died multiple times trying to dodge in Diablo, but I couldn't because I was like Final Fantasy 16 controls. But I really like that game too. It's like it's right behind I mean, yeah, Diablo is right behind Final Fantasy 16 for me. Like on my Game of the Year personal list this year. Combat's great. I really like this. Like the story is as good as you're gonna get. The combat I think heavily carries that game and the world and like the world building. And then moving on from that, a game I tried to play Cassette Beast. It was on Game Pass. I tried to play it. I got 2.5, 3 hours in. I've never played a Pokemon. And like I guess if that's what Pokemon is, maybe I won't ever play Pokemon. Because like it was just very mindless walking around, like getting into battles that like the story did not interest me at all from what I played. But I was
That's
also
what
in
it's
the
all about.
I was kind of in a bad headspace. So like I probably will go back to it at some point. I think I gave it a bad shake. So like I moved on from that and I started Halo 4 and I'm like 4 or 5 missions into Halo 4 already. And I'm really enjoying it. I'm finally getting enemy variety. It's only taken me 6 Halo games, but it's there now.
We did it, boys.
They'll probably use this exact same enemy over the next 3 games. Who knows? but
Yes.
I'm enjoying what I'm playing with Halo right now. It's more of like a I'm talking to Cortana again for the 17th time, like every Halo game. But it's pretty cool so far.
Dirk, you got something to say?
Yeah, so I wanted to jump in on the cassette piece topic real quick. So I
Okay.
have not played all of the Pokemon games. I played like a good majority of them. I haven't played them all. I agree with Fusion. It wasn't like for me, but I do think it is worth playing like the actual Pokemon titles because they're a lot more streamlined and better to digest, in my opinion. The cassette piece. I don't. I think they're still worth a shot.
You know, I was thinking about that because I'm like, well, if I don't like cassette beasts, am I gonna like Pokemon? I was talking to Moon a little bit about it, but I'm like, I also think it's just the designs in cassette beasts, like they're cool, but like they're not vibing with me. You know what I mean? Like Pokemon have
Mhm.
that, like
Yeah.
they have that style and stuff that like I actually like Squirtle and like all, like they look like cool things that I want to like invest in. Whereas like cassette beasts, this entire world they built, which is like they did a great job on it, but like it's not grabbing me like I feel like a Pokemon game would. And like the mechanics are, I assume, close to Pokemon. And it's like
Meh.
my problems really aren't even much of the cassette beast mechanics. Like when I get in a combat encounter, I'm like, this is the funnest part of your game. It's the in between the combat encounters and like exploring this world that I feel like I have no desire to even look at. That's what's been turning me off with
Just
cassette
like
games.
FF16. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll stop. I'll stop.
Kinda, but way worse. But
Okay, interesting. I guess just to round it out, Moon, you started a game I've been wanting to check out. Haven't had the time to start because of FF16. I swear, I'll stop. I'll stop. Um, Master Detective Archives Rain Code, please take the floor.
Yeah, so I won't go too long because we are reaching our about average time. And I've only completed the first case, so I won't have too much to say. So pretty much, if you liked Danganronpa 2 and 3, you would like this game because a lot of the gameplay, a lot of the mechanics are very similar. I said this in the Discord, but if you liked that mini game from the class trials in Danganronpa 2 and 3, where you have your clue and it's a sword and you gotta slash through everyone's words, that's like your main gameplay of this game. There's obviously other things when you're trying to like get through the dungeon, which is just like a class trial where there's layers to them. Like one clue leads to realization, the realization leads to another path down to try to figure out the truth, and it's all just these weird ass mini games. But besides that, it's a good time so far. It's that obvious Danganronpa writing, characters, and all that slight perversion.
Oh,
Uh,
my favorite perversion.
uh it's just there just to like tickle your fancy every once in a
Uh,
while.
how how are the characters? Because I feel like I haven't seen as much advertising for this game's
Yeah, so
characters.
that's
Like,
the
are they
fun.
any good?
Okay. Uh, so minor spoilers here for the very first case of the game. Obviously, if you look at like the box art, there's a lot of characters. I haven't met everyone on there, but everyone you meet within the first case is dead. At least I'm
Wow.
assuming there's
Great
something is.
start.
I know something is telling me I don't think they're actually dead. I think they might come back. I think there's
We'll
some
see.
tomfoolery going on. But yeah, the whole first case of the game. Slight spoiler for the first mission of the game. Literally everyone you meet gets burned to death, and you have to find
Jesus.
out who burned them all because they're blaming it all on you because you're the only one living. So it's a lot like the Danganronpa cases where it's a looks like a murder suicide, but the actual person who did it um, obviously survive somehow, just fake their death. But
Of
besides
course.
that, yeah, it's I would say yeah, if you like Danganronpa, but like I said, it's this developer can only seem to make one game. Like this is now further proof. Like he made Danganronpa, but now he can only just make more Danganronpa and just
Hey,
like it's
hey,
just non-visual novel.
he can make one game, but it's a damn good game.
It is
I
kind of
mean, we'll
funny
see with this
too.
one.
It's kind of funny ever since he left the Danganronpa like Spike Chunsoft like officially. Like they're still working together as like his publisher, but he's not on he's like he has his own two I think it's called Tukio Games. Uh it's kind
Yeah.
of funny. Every game they put out since then has been like low to high 70s. He hasn't hit an 80 with a
Yeah.
game yet.
I mean, Danganronpa games never really scored that high
I
either.
think
Like they were
V3
low
hit like
80s.
82 or something like that.
Yeah, they're
Uh
pretty low 80s in
is
general.
Dark,
Like
you have something to say?
Oh, actually, did I'm not sure why that's up, but I mean,
thanks, Dark.
touching on Danganronpa, they kind of like. I kind of want to say they're kind of cult classics. They were like a thing of its time. They were like that old time during YouTube. Like, that was like original YouTube time,
I'd
Yeah.
say
if you
they've
remember that.
it's been enough
And
time.
I
You
kind
could
of
say that.
blew up to like a little small audience there. God forbid you interact with that community, however. But
Oh man.
it's niche enough. It's in its own little corner.
Yeah,
It's not the
that's very
best, but it's
much.
not the worst.
It's in its corner. Like the games are very well beloved within its community, but I don't think they would ever hit the mainstream. Like say like an Ace
Yeah,
No,
Attorney.
yeah, you'll never
no,
get that.
not at all.
Yeah.
It's a little too anime for some people.
Yeah.
And
It's
same
literally the grimace shit kills everybody. It's what Danganronpa.
and same thing's going on here. It's like you got to have the stomach for anime for this game as well.
Oh yeah, from what I saw, it's very anime. Which hey, I mean, it's a plus for me, but for a lot of
Mhm.
people, it's like no.
Yeah, so I don't know, I'll let you know. I don't think it's too long. I think the time just came out, so it's around like 25 hours. And granted, this first case, it's just like the class trials in Danganronpa. The dungeon is like the big chunk of the game, and God, that took forever. I saved twice and had to do like 3 play sessions just to get through this one dungeon. And this is the tutorial dungeon. So I'm curious.
Interesting.
So now that this game is like pretty much where you left off with Danganronpa, I'm curious how he's going to evolve this gameplay, because I'm sure because there actually are RPG points that you end like a skill tree. So I'm curious to see where does this skill tree go? Where does this combat, if you want to call it combat, it's just dodging to the left and right and jumping as you slash
Yeah.
words. So I'm curious, like, how does he evolve that for the rest of the game to keep the things interesting? Otherwise, this game's going to get boring real fast. And you got to hope the story holds you. But yeah, sorry for the minor spoilers for everyone who's listening.
I mean, like you said, it's like very much in the beginning of the
Well,
game.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna
You-
play the game now.
and
it happened-
also, you said it, spoiler warning instead of good old bench over here. So that's good to hear.
Yeah, don't worry. He's getting a pay cut this week for that. Early,
Oh, yeah.
Yo, y'all are getting paid, bro.
Well, some of us.
I get paid in clout.
That's fair.
But yeah, Moon, I'm gonna hand it right back actually to you to handle the outro because I think that's everything.
that is everything. And we somehow, with this non-news week, we still somehow hit an hour and a half once again.
Thank you,
Uh,
Yuji Naka.
True.
And Yuji Naka and everyone just venting their woes about Final Fantasy 16.
It's still a good game. Play it.
Yeah, it's a good game.
So I hope
Wait for
you
a
all. I hope you all. That's what I'm doing. So I hope you all enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to us on. Be sure to tune in next week, and yeah, have a good weekend.
Peace out.
See you later,
Bye.
boys.
Play Hi-Fi Rush.
Yes, play Hi-Fi Rush.